You're listening to 92.1 West Coast Radio 2, the Gambia's news authority.
Former Gambian Deputy Ambassador to the UN and retired Lieutenant Colonel Samsudeen Sarr began life as a school teacher before joining the Gambian National Army as an officer in 1986. Over the years, he rose to the position of Army Commander, but abruptly retired by then-President Yahya Jammeh 13 years later in 1999. Subsequently, he relocated to the United States with his family, where they eventually obtained naturalized citizenship and established their lives. In 2015, a remarkable turn of events saw Sarr reconciling with Jammeh. The reconciliation led to Sarr's appointment as the Gambia's Deputy Ambassador to the UN, a role he served in until Jammeh's departure from this country in early 2017, following his election defeat just over a month prior. Well, following his return to the Gambia in 2017, retired Lieutenant Colonel Samsudeen Sarr has primarily been engaged in academic pursuits and writing. His latest book is titled Testimony of a Retired Gambian Military Officer and Diplomat. It's due out soon. When exactly, we do not know, but we will find out soon, God willing. So here to talk to us about the book is Lieutenant or retired Lieutenant Colonel Samsudeen Sarr. I simply just call him Sam. It's much easier. I thought he was going to be in the studio. Instead, I found him on the telephone line. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, Peter. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm very good. You live just a stone's throw away. You could literally have crawled to the studio and still be in time for this interview.
Yeah, I know. Apparently, I was in the beach this morning, so I thought it was going to be a telephone interview.
Well, it is now.
I misunderstood our discussion the other day that hey, let's have it either on telephone or you come to the studio. So I opted for the telephone call. However, I am sorry. Next time, it's not too far.
It's all right.
When I deposited the book to your daughter, I just walk across.
Absolutely. So, Testimony of a Retired Gambian Military Officer and Diplomat. Why did you have to write this book?
Yeah, apparently the same reason why I wrote Coup d'etat by the Gambian National Army in 2000 to 2007, published by Ex Libris Publishing Company in the United States. Apparently, when I arrived in the U.S. in 1999, after my self-exile, I realized that too many self-made experts on Gambian issues were writing stories that were far too inaccurate about what happened during the coup, who organized it, and how it evolved to where it was until I arrived. So I decided to write a true account of my experience of the whole incident from the perspective of a participant in the operation on day 1, 2, throughout up to I left the Gambia as the Army Commander. That is definitely what prompted me to write Coup d'etat by the Gambian National Army. Then, when I arrived in the Gambia, I noticed that, a TRRC was constituted to look into the past activities of the Jammeh regime, especially the negative issues. I thought I was one person who was going to be invited to talk about what I know. But unfortunately, I noticed that different Gambian soldiers who were silent about the incident throughout were invited to talk about things that were, to me, distorted, especially when it affected me, where they have been accused of being a torturer and all that. And then I asked to come over and, give my version of what happened, but they rejected it, saying that my testimony is not relevant to their investigation.
Oh.
Yes, and that is when I really decided to write this book as my testimony to the TRRC, and that brought about the heading, like testimony of a Gambian retired military officer and diplomat.
Yeah. You referenced my daughter. You referenced my daughter because, as you said, she was the one you handed the book to, for me.
Indeed.
And she immediately, started reading the book. In fact, when I got the book and started reading it, what she said to me is, this is a very difficult book to put down once you've, started reading it. So it's a very interesting book. And I am now, I've just opened the book to page 60, where you talk about this meeting, just after the coup, where you and other, army section heads were assembled, and Jammeh, true to form, began ranting and, just spewing expletives left, right, center. And nobody, among the other seniors, most of you were senior to him, in the military, had the nerve to speak up and say, hey, listen, what's your language? But you did.
Yes. Apparently, after the chaotic situation following the coup d'etat on the 22nd of July, if you start from chapter 1, I started from the very day the coup d'etat happened, when I was at the State House and was called upon by Captain Kasama, the ADC, to President Jawara, informing me that the soldiers at Yundum Barracks had broken into the armory and have taken out all heavy weapons and are on their way to remove the government. I was shocked because I didn't know anything about it. So that's where I started the story, and went through the whole day and how the operation was conducted, who were involved, until the presidential guard surrendered. And from there, I joined a vehicle to find out what exactly was happening and who were involved. Went to Yundum Barracks and found captains there and lieutenants who couldn't tell me who were the ringleaders. So it was there that we had this invitation to go to the State House to meet about the whole coup. I was excited, and when we arrived, a lot of officers were there, including TSG, the Diplomat Gendarmerie, and Gambian National Army officers, and, senior officers for that matter, and even other ranks, NCOs. So while we sat waiting for somebody to initiate the meeting, which we didn't even know who invited us there, Jammeh jumped on his feet and started really using abusive language, very abusive, to everybody, saying that if you think this is monkey walk, baboon eat, you guys must be out of your mind, and that, we laid our lives, blah, 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 which I thought was not realistic. And that is when I thought, actually, I expected my seniors to reprimand him, but nobody spoke. And I got up and said, hey, look, what's your language? What you are saying is nonsense. Because we are already in a fluid situation where a government is removed and there is no government to replace it, which, according to experts, is open to anybody to take charge and mess up the country. So think about how to restore order than talking about monkey walk, baboon eat. So this just manifests your level of greed in what you call change of a government for a better regime. And, we almost had some confrontation, but we were separated. And, I was about to leave, but it was Lieutenant Barrow, the late Lieutenant Barrow, who appealed to them and said, please, now that you guys are successful, I would suggest you retain Captain Sarr and Captain Mama Cham to help you navigate through these, trying times.
And Captain Mama Cham today is the Chief of Defense Staff.
Yeah, the CDS. And that's what kept us there, and, I was dumbfounded when they gave me the responsibility. I couldn't reject it, but I didn't know what to do. So that's when I recommended, we reach out to General Dada, the commander of the Nigerian Army training team, who was at the time very upset with the government.
Don't give out too much. Don't give out too much. People have to go and get the book. It's a very interesting book. But later on in life, of course, you fell out with Jammeh, reconciled. Then he appointed you deputy ambassador to the UN, where you worked with the current Minister of Foreign Affairs and Gambians abroad, Dr. Momodou Tangara. In page 30 of the book, it's a big book, 346 pages. We can't pack all 346 pages in the remaining 10, 15 minutes. But, you spoke about your conversation with him after Jammeh lost the elections, conceded. Then the IEC came and altered the figures yet again. He was still losing, but he thought, well, the credibility of the election was now in question, because why would an IEC, come and give two versions of the result of one election? And then you were led to believe that Dr. Tangara, just like you, were in tune with Jammeh, that the elections have to be rerun. Lo and behold, as you say in the chapter, and you describe him with some uncharitable words. I mean, tell us about these final days of collaboration between you and Dr. Tangara in New York.
Yeah, apparently I was his deputy at the embassy. I was a deputy ambassador, and I was in the Gambia when the election took place, and luckily I was taken to the State House to witness the counting and everything. And I was there with, Aksigai, who was the ambassador, Ethiopia, Mamadou Lamin Baji, Colonel Lamin Baji, who is now ambassador somewhere around in Polisario area. They took me there because he said, hey, we all meet here during elections. They were throughout with the government, and that's where I was, and they counted all the votes in our presence from the polling station. And in the end, it was apparent that by 1 a.m., Jammeh had lost by 18,000 votes. So I was with and Jammeh came and said, oh, it's okay. This is right. There is nothing I can challenge about this. This is a transparent election. Tomorrow I'm calling Barrow and congratulate him for winning the election. So we all left. And I was even going to write about it the following morning. In fact, I did write. But 2 days after, I learned that, there was 5 days, about 3 days, I think, yes. I learned that there were 2 sets of results, another set of results, and so on. But Jammeh never told us anything about what he was doing. I just saw him appear on the 9th of August on TV, nullifying the elections with statements that were incoherent.
You said
don't know exactly.
You said 9th of August. You mean 9th of December?
Yeah, 9th of December. Yeah, 9th of December, yes. And, nobody understood what he was talking about. So I left that very day, I think the second day, and went to New York. As soon as I arrived, I called the embassy to tell them that, we heard that, you heard what Jammeh did, that he's going to contest the elections because of the second set of results that came. And the ambassador assured me that, yes, we are all in the same process of contesting it in the UN, and assured me that, yes, it's going to be a tough thing, Sam, but, let's just fight together. I thought they even needed me, because I had 5 more days on my vacation. So I asked him as to whether I could, come over and help. He said, don't worry, I have all my men ready to work. We are working hard to contest these elections. And that is what I thought was going on until 5 days after when I arrived. I realized that, on that very night, the Senegalese ambassador, for the tech, came to the embassy at the UN and agreed with them on, to take the matter to the Security Council and force Jammeh to leave. So, I was shocked when they told me that, well, Jammeh disappointed us. He should have said, you should have told me in the beginning so that I could calibrate myself on how to really approach this matter. And it turned me off. And that's when I reported the matter to Ban Jallow. He was removed, and I took the position, and I tried to meet all the embassies to explain what happened. Unfortunately, none of them, knew that there were a second set of results, but it was too late. The Deputy Secretary General to Ban Ki-moon, who was about to leave, told me that, look, yes, you have, a good story to tell, but we have gone too far into this process. We can no longer go back. Jammeh has to go.
And then you also say
besides,
that. Go ahead.
Pardon me?
Go ahead.
Yeah, and besides, I also realized that people were no thrilled about Jammeh's, lifestyle as a president, especially when he raised these issues of having cure for AIDS and, killing the witches in the Gambia. All those things tarnished his image at the UN. Of course, I stood my ground because I was afraid of a war in the Gambia, which a lot of people misunderstood. Because the Security Council passed a resolution saying that don't attack the Gambia. There is no violence. We can squeeze this guy with sanctions to ensure that he leaves office without a bullet being shot. They moved Barrow to Senegal, and after he was sworn in, and Macky Sall took the initiative to mobilize the forces to invade the Gambia. And all throughout, I was just dying to stop this invasion, which I have articulated in my book. If you read the book, you'll see everything that happened there.
Absolutely.
Finally, when I knew that the invasion was imminent, I called all the generals, General Sow, General Tarame at the headquarters, and advised them to disperse all the troops in the units to avoid confronting the forces, because they were more equipped, better armed, and to wreak havoc in the country. Although, yes, if they were to invade the country, anything could happen. You might come, even the Jammeh could be killed. But the resistance may have, dragged on until now. I even kept on giving VOA, Voice of America. I had an interview with them. I told them, I don't want the repetition of what happened in Libya, in the Gambia, to happen, But it was like war. And Francis Ndiaye said, the general from Senegal, said they had an order to reduce the Gambia into rubble if Jammeh didn't move out.
Oh.
Yes, he said it. And thank God, when I had that Jammeh left, I was so happy that we averted another war.
Fantastic. Sam, it's a great book, well written. Like my daughter says, once you pick up the book and start reading, it's very hard to put it down before you've reached the final page. So the book is out. When do you plan to launch it?
I am looking at the end of March. That's when exactly the time
we are in April already. March is in the past.
Sorry, I'm talking about next May rather.
Okay.
I'm talking about May, April, May, because I was avoiding the OIC. So end of May, definitely. Of course, I have some few copies that people are calling to buy here and there.
And what's the price? What's the price?
$500.
$500. And where is it available?
At my wife's shop in the mall, in the Tipagaras Mall. And, one can call me if you want to get it. I'm not very far from the Target store by the police station, Kotu police station. I'm on 71244. We can
be an outlet for you, West Coast Radio. If you drop a few copies here, we can help you sell.
Yeah, I can do that. Definitely, I'll drop some copies for you to really work on.
Absolutely. And all writers in this country we have spoken to lament the fact that it is very difficult to publish. This looks like a well-made book. I mean, the compilation, the binding, everything looks so professional. Did you get any support, and if yes, where from or who from?
Oh, yes. I wanted to say that in my introductory message, that I want to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to President Adama Barrow for generously sponsoring the publication of the book, and to extend my sincerest wishes for his continued success in all his endeavors. I mean, like, he was great. I was there with my friend, Ibrahim Sankare. We talk about it, we look at it, and he even recommended, the certain to change the front page and put it as it is now.
Okay.
With three presidents, because I covered three generations of presidents: Jawara, Jammeh, and President Barrow. If you look at the first pages, you will see me with President Jawara at Yundum Barracks at a passing out ceremony of some soldiers. And the second page is where I at Yundum Airport with President Jammeh and General Sani Abacha on a state visit. And finally, I have a picture with Barrow at the State House, and to show that I have interacted with all of them and have a story to tell about their regimes.
Absolutely. Listen, Sam, yes. you know the saying, "Lit duf ci nag bi yep hejut ci cin li." Everything we had intended to talk to you about this morning, unfortunately, cannot fit in just 1 hour.
I was going to talk about Senegal,
yes,
and
indeed.
Stuff like that.
We can defer that to next week. Allow the new president, to come in. This is not by design. It just happens that we've run out of time. Allow him to come in. Let them talk. Whether, what you expect them to discuss is what actually the two are going to discuss, even though when two presidents meet, they meet in camera, and it's only what they choose to share publicly that gets out into the open. But, we can always reflect on how our relations with Senegal should evolve.
Yeah, I think it's a one-day walk-in visit, which I think is a very short time to trash out all the problems that we have with Senegal. Definitely there are problems, because when I listened to your last program with Mr. Dr. Cisse, where people really, classified Pastef as a problematic party in the Gambia, having confrontation with Barrow. I think Dr. Cisse answered it very well by showing that unauthorized protests are not, are legal and they have to be stopped. But I have listened to Sonko talking about how both President Barrow and President Embalo of Guinea-Bissau have been too cooperative with Macky Sall in his maneuver to tarnish the image of the party. I've listened to that audio, so I think there is some problem and so many things that I thought we'll talk about. But anyway, time doesn't allow it. But I want to once again thank you very much for inviting me today. And hopefully next week we'll talk about it, because I have a lot to say, not only about Senegal and Gambia, but perhaps the Sahel.
Absolutely.
Remember when the Sahel problem?
In fact, I teased the audience about that. So
even the Middle East problem also, So
we'll talk about that, Sam. Sam, thank you so very much for your time. Unfortunately, we've completely run out of time, and we have to end it there.
Hey, after me, you are the greatest.
That's Samsudeen Sarr, retired Lieutenant Colonel of the Gambia Armed Forces, and also former diplomat, the Gambia's Deputy Ambassador to the United Nations. His book again is entitled Testimony of a Retired Gambian Military Officer and Diplomat, soon to be available, copies to be available here at West Coast Radio at a cost of $500 per book. You've been listening to Coffee Time with Peter Gomez. Thanks for the pleasure of your company. Aji Jogobkan with you tomorrow.